Hi, it's me, it's Penelope, and I'm a 20-year-old college student who studies English literature and education, and I have a real passionate love for children's literature, and in particular, picture books. Growing up, I wasn't really the biggest reader, and I'm still not, even though I'm an English major. But books were still a really huge part of my childhood. I'm also really big into painting and just art in general, and so I think that having something where it had one thing that I really liked combined with one thing that I didn't really like kind of still allowed me to grow this love for reading and literature and just learning and storytelling and stuff like that. Obviously, I have a love for education as well, and school and learning and books and kids and things like that, and I think that storybooks are a really huge part of allowing a child to really express their imagination and grow their imagination, but also grow their love for learning and books, even though I don't think that really worked. Well, actually, I guess it did work because I'm studying literature. I don't know, maybe I should be reconsidering my life choices as far as my education goes, but I'm not going to. And obviously, there's a lot of research showing why reading to your children is important and why kids reading in general is important, but I'm not here to give you any of that. I really have no new exciting information or really factual information at all. I'm really just here to talk about the books that I like and why I like them. So anyways, I like picture books, I like storybooks, I like kids books, and so today I was going to talk about a few of the books that I really loved growing up and why I loved them then and why I love them now and why I think that they're still so valuable now. Okay, so the first book I want to talk about is called Princess Penelope, and it's by Todd Mack and it's illustrated by Julia Grahn. So obviously a little girl growing up by the name of Penelope, this is gonna be her favorite book, so I'm so sorry about the bias that I have coming into this. The story that the book actually tells isn't that fantastic or extraordinary. It's just about a little girl named Penelope who thinks she's a princess and how she lives her life thinking that. The story kind of takes you through typical situations that kids go through, like not wanting to eat their vegetables, getting put into timeout. Penelope talks about all the different thrones she has, stuff like that. To me, the real magic of this book was with the pictures. The book does this really interesting thing where certain parts of the page are colored differently to represent Penelope's imagined life as a princess. However, as a child, I didn't really understand that that's what was happening. I just kind of assumed that everything that was happening on the page was happening all at once in the same world. And some might say that's because I was just dumb, and to that I would say maybe. But revisiting the book as an adult, I think that it's really interesting the way that it gives the opportunity to the reader, who's a child, to interpret it more than one way. And I think that that gives an opportunity for the reader, again, to just be really imaginative about what they want the book to mean. I think this is especially evident on some pages, especially the one with the bubble bath, because it's kind of unclear whether or not this bubble dragon is happening in real life or in Penelope's imagined life, and it gives this moment of the fantastical crossing over to reality and those lines getting blurred, and it's just, I don't know, it's just kind of a magical thing to me. Maybe that's way too deep, I don't know. That's just what I got from it as a child and what I got from it now. But overall, I really like the style of the book. The illustrations I think are very unique and whimsical and fun, and I think that the concept of two different realities existing on the page at the same time is really interesting, and it was certainly entertaining as a child. So the next book I want to talk about is The Giant Jam Sandwich, and this is by, Story and Pictures by John Vernon Lord, and Verses by Janet Barroway. Barroway. I don't know. This story is about a town that gets visited by a bunch of wasps, and the wasps are being really annoying, and so the townspeople decide to come together and kind of come up with this grand idea to get rid of the wasps. And I think that as a child, this sort of problem solving was really interesting to me because the town makes a giant jam sandwich to trap all of the wasps and take them away. There was something about this outlandish idea of making this giant jam sandwich combined with the kind of realisticness of the illustrations that I think really captivated me, and even now I think it's really entertaining to watch these two worlds come together. Again, the realistic and the fantastic, like I just think that it's fun. That's what kids' books, I guess, are all about, but I think it's really fun. I don't know. And the art in this book I think is so incredibly incredible. All of the pictures are so busy and there's so much detail and so much going on that I think is really entertaining. At least it was for me. I remember sitting with this book and just looking at all the different pictures for so long, like spending so much time on each one because there was so much to see. And that's something that I noted as a kid, and I would purposefully go to books with these busier illustrations to look at them because, you know, I didn't read the books, and so I needed these intricate illustrations to kind of keep my attention or keep me entertained. There was one page that fascinated me particularly as a child, and it's during the town hall meeting because the wasps are kind of lined up on the windowsill and on the ceiling in a very uniform way, and it kind of makes it seem like the wasps are attending the town hall meeting. And as a child, I remember just thinking about that a lot. Like, I wasn't sure what was going on, but I think that space where the reader can come in and interpret what these images are meaning and add whatever meaning they come up with to the story is very magical. I don't know, I think it's rewarding coming up with your own imaginative idea and adding it to the story that already exists. That's what I'm trying to say. So all in all, I think that this book is very special because of the illustrations, but also, again, because of this fantastic idea of making a giant jam sandwich to capture the wasps and take them away. A lot of the illustrations have remained like really vivid images in my mind since reading it as a child. I don't really read this book often. I read it when I was preparing for this video and revisiting it. I was like, oh my god, like I remember that face. So I think that a lot of the images are very striking and very unique, and I really like the art in this book, and I like the story, and I think the two come together in such a wonderful way, and I just really like it. Okay, I saved the best for last, but this book is called Westlandia, and it's by Paul Fleischman, I think? And it's illustrated by Kevin Hawkes. This book is so amazing and so prominent in my nostalgic mind for so many reasons. It's about a little boy who kind of like gets bullied low-key, and he's really smart. He's kind of like a whiz kid, and he creates this world in his backyard, and he makes his own like agricultural system, he makes his own language, he makes his own clothes, he grows his own food, but it's like a new kind of food. It's incredible. You know, needless to say, the world building in this story is so impressive considering that it's so short, and yet in these few pages the author is able to create this whole like society for the reader. It's really interesting. I have a really special relationship with this book because up until recently I had never really actually sat down and read the whole thing. I had heard bits and pieces from when my mom was reading it to my other siblings, but for the most part when I was a kid I just looked at the pictures because they're so fascinating. But I kind of didn't really have a full scope of what the story actually was. I just took what I interpreted from the images and put it with the little bits of knowledge that I had from overhearing the story and kind of put it together and made my own version of the story. But in that, there was still these little pieces of mystery because I didn't actually know what was going on. Even though I easily could have read the book, I just didn't. But anyways, that's something that I think is really special, and I was almost hesitant to go and read this book and kind of ruin that story or the idea of the story that I'd created in my mind. Having that third space where you can go in and make up what you think the story means and also bring in your preconceived ideas about the world into the story, I think is really special. And when a book's illustrations are able to foster that imaginative mind in a child and help them create the story for themselves without actually reading the story. I think that's really beautiful and really important. But anyways, back to the actual book. I really like how this book presents how a society and a culture and a community is made. I think that it's really interesting how it's presented in such an easily digestible way for children. And again, it puts this fantastical world right in the middle of a regular suburb, which I always found to be so fascinating, because I was like, well, where's the Westlandia in my neighborhood? Surely one exists, because Westlandia is happening in the real world that I live in the book. Kind of, you know? I live in a suburb, and the story's happening in a suburb, so it's real to me. I don't know. So I guess moral of the story, I just really like the idea of the fantastical living within reality. I've probably said those words so many times in this video, but I don't care. And again, just like the giant jam sandwich, I think that these illustrations are really detailed, and there's a lot going on, and kind of not like Easter eggs, but little situations happening in the corner that's outside of the, you know, the main story that's happening. Like these little raccoons you see throughout the story. I think it's really cute. These definitely aren't as detailed as the giant jam sandwich, but I think that they're still interesting enough. I mean, they were interesting enough to where I, as a child, would just sit with this book for hours and just look at the pictures. I also really love the double spread of some of the pictures in the book. I remember that always being a very magical moment when I was being read to just be able to like sit in the silence and pause the story and let the pictures do the talking. And to be honest, I feel like this book is just a home library essential. I think that it's so magical, and I just want everyone to love it as much as I do. I also remember as a kid thinking like, oh my god, okay, well, like, I'm gonna make my own Westlandia, I'm gonna make my own language, and I remember trying to do a lot of the things that he does in the story, and obviously they didn't work because it's a story, but still just that idea that the book went beyond being enjoyable and actually inspired its reader. I think that's really where the magic happens. But anyways, these are just a few books that I really enjoyed as a child, and that I still enjoy as an adult. I think they've really stood the test of time, or stood the test of time. I don't know. I think that they were really valuable to me when I was a child, and when looking back at them now as an adult, I think that they're still really valuable, and I think that's what makes a great children's book, is when adults and children can enjoy them together. So I'm gonna try to leave links to all these books and where you can buy them in the description box. I know that the giant jam sandwich is like kind of really old, so I don't know if they sell that book anymore, but if they do, I will leave it where you can find it. And hopefully I'll be back to make more videos about kids books, picture books, storybooks, just all the books, or maybe even other things, I don't know. But anyway, I mean, either way, I hope that I will be back. But yeah, thank you so much for spending some time with me today to talk about the books that I liked as a child, and I hope that you enjoyed. So, goodbye! Oh my god.